Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 605. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week we're taking a journey through the PlayStation Network to see what was flowing in 2009 with that game. We're playing Flower, and we're going to talk about Flower. Before we do, Matt, what is your favorite weird PSN game from the PS3 era?
I really wish you could give me 5 minutes to look through that library
I
real
know.
quick.
Sorry, it was a cold. I'm going to throw one out for you.
Okay,
And maybe
please.
that'll...
Well, I'm thinking.
Fat Princess was a weird,
I
fun game. Did you ever spend
missed it.
time playing
I
that?
missed it.
Man,
I
it's like...
played it a little bit at your house, but I did not sink any time.
It's just a really good, like... I don't even know what to call it. It's capture the flag, but the flag is the princess. And the whole point is like she's Fat Princess because you're feeding her cake to keep her immobile and harder to carry by the opposite team. And then there's little classes and it's just a fun little like, whatever game. But yeah, we used to do, a friend of mine and I, and this might come up when we talk Flower, we were directly in competition with one another on trophies. And we had our accounts on one another's PS3s so we could do the game sharing thing. And like we just spent so much time chasing trophies in everything that we could and whatever. And like I remember Fat Princess, we would sit and we would do like network link and we just play back and forth to try and do it's a fun time.
All right, I'm going to give you 3 titles, and they all don't meet the criteria. The obvious answer might be Journey, but that's too obvious, too on the nose for this episode. 2, my God, Hotline Miami, but it's already number 10 on our list, so gonna throw that out. And then the third game I'm gonna throw out, technically on PS3, the PS4 version is the definitive version. I'm gonna give you a little Resogun.
Oh yeah, Resogun was good. Well, prior to Resogun, you had the other fellas. Oh man, what were they? Dead Nation was really good. And no, is it Resogun? Is that the one I'm thinking of? No. Man, okay. No. What is that game, dude? It was the other Housemarque one.
Yeah, I couldn't think of that.
I played the heck out of it. Something Galaxy? Am I crazy? Super Stardust.
Oh, yes.
That's what it was. Super Stardust HD is the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, Super Stardust and Dead Nation were really, really good. Another fun one that I thought of, Outland. Do you remember Outland?
No.
I remember Outland for a few reasons. I remember downloading the demo to Outland and thinking, hey, this is kind of cool. Because you played, it was a side-scrolling platformer. And there was a red and blue like polarity thing. So you would jump between red and blue and like your attacks did something, but they didn't if you were the opposite. Something like that. I don't remember what it was. It was kind of like Ikaruga, but a platformer, if you will. I played the demo for it, and the game was meant to come out a few days later, except a little thing called the 2011 PlayStation Network outage happened. And you couldn't buy the game until like June. And by that point, I'd moved on or I got Infamous for free or something. So I didn't do much with it. But yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, dude, Resogun was a banger. That whole Housemarque era was really, really good. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about PSN stuff this episode for obvious reasons. But let's talk Flower. Brought to you by That Game Company, published by Sony Computer Entertainment, released first on the PlayStation 3, February 12th, 2009. There was no box because this was a PlayStation Network thing, but thanks to the power of the Internet Archive, I used the Wayback Machine to go look at the PlayStation 3 listing for this game
Oh.
because you can't look at the PS3's web store anymore. And I found two hits. So I'm gonna. There's a full description, but I also liked this little one that I found on like PSN on the web used to have like a different interface where like they almost had like a PS blog thing where you could like view like news, not news stories, but like promoted content and stuff. So that one just had like a little pull quote that said, "Take control of the wind as you explore and navigate beautiful, lush environments using only the 6-axis motion controls." And then the actual like in the body of the game states, the pioneers that brought you the award-winning PlayStation Network title Flow are back with another concept that challenges traditional gaming conventions. Flower expands the team's tradition of delivering simple gameplay, accessible controls, and a medium to explore emotional chords uncommon in video games. In Flower, the surrounding environment, most often pushed to the background in games, is pulled to the forefront and becomes the primary character. The player fades from an external and stressful world in the opening of this fresh and genuine game only for PS3 and journeys through beautifully vivid landscapes, changing the surroundings and exploring nature along the way.
Remember, the podcast Beyond Days, they always found grammatical errors. So, this
It does
fits.
say changing his surroundings and exploring nature along the way.
I remember
The
this was a fun segment in the old podcast Beyond Days for reasons like this.
Yeah, you're okay. I was like, did I copy and paste
Nope.
it wrong? But like,
Nope.
because I was like, was it like an OCR? Yeah, no. Okay, there it is. Do you feel like that describes Flower apt enough, or is there a different way you would set up Flower?
I mean, close enough. The main thing is the 6-axis. I feel like you gotta once you hit
Yeah, I
that, you
think
hit a
that
lot of this game.
yeah, that first little sentence I read, take control of the wind using only the 6-axis motion controls. I think that's kind of the bit. I don't know, there's some button action.
One.
It makes the wind move. Uh yeah. So why are we adding Flower to the list this year? Is a question for me. I'm trying to look here. Let's take a look. Flower was a late ad
Ooh.
for me in terms of
So
the
this was
list,
game
but I
93 on
think
your short list.
it wasn't that I didn't have too big of a list looking at last year, actually, surprisingly, compared to the year before where I had like 72 games or something. Um, but I think for me, Flower made sense. I mean, especially once I started looking at my games for this year as seasons and the idea of presenting like the seasons of video games where spring was the idea of new ideas or something fresh in video games. Also, I think I moved my chair. I just want to make sure I'm still center for you and everything's good
Good
there.
enough.
You just tell me if I gotta. Okay, all right. I didn't. I'm looking at myself. I'm like way over to the right. But yeah, I felt like Flower represented to me one of the newest, freshest ideas in video games then and now. Still, I still don't think we have much like Flower in the world of video games. Even that game company has moved away from stuff like this. Um, in favor of more traditional video games, if you will. So yeah, it just kind of like made sense to get this one added. Historically though, like looking back at Flower, once I started like landing on the idea of like fresh ideas and whatever, it was that kind of thing. I This was the game that made me buy a PS3. It wasn't any other thing at all. It was literally this and Fat Princess where I first said like those are video games you can play? Like, I was shocked that that's what it was. Because if you recall, PS3 was pretty expensive at launch.
Pretty
And
pricey.
although, like, yeah, it's pricey. The price came down. Um, but by the time the price came down, everybody had a 360, myself included. I bought a DS one summer or something, and then like right after that, I was like, I should probably have a 360, and I bought one because my brother already had one, and he was tired of borrowing his, and he didn't want me borrowing his because he also wanted to play it. So I bought my own, and then I had that, and it was the machine you played Symphony of the Night on, of all things, but also Call of Duty and whatnot. And then I just sort of like I hit this wall a bit with it where I was just kind of playing the same things, like it wasn't whatever. We're also losing Blockbuster at this point, so the idea of like being able to rent things and try things out wasn't there as much. Obviously there's Xbox Live Arcade, otherwise I wouldn't have had Symphony of the Night. And I'm playing a lot of stuff that's hitting that. But even those, I think a lot of the stuff I felt on arcade, it was a lot of like, and I'm being reductive here and I'm generalizing, of course, but it all just felt like these sort of, I don't know, a lot of developers, indie developers being able to make the games they used to love that weren't made anymore. You know what I mean? But like you look at stuff like Meat Boy or I forget what else is like of that era
Limbo.
at that time. Limbo, yeah. What was the one before? No, Limbo was their first one.
Yeah.
Inside was the second, yeah. But like all of that stuff where it was just sort of like smaller teams making games that big teams used to make and being able to self-publish it was all exciting, but it still just felt like stuff we'd seen before. And when I first heard about Fat Princess and Flower especially, I was like, I've never heard of a video game like this ever, where you just play as the wind. And I was like, I gotta have a PlayStation 3. Because I remember saying like, well, when's this come to Xbox? And I was like, it doesn't. It's a PlayStation 3 thing. You gotta have PlayStation Network. And I was like, all right, well, I gotta buy a PS3. Literally because of Flower. I'm sure I would have bought one at some point anyway, but it was like, this was the thing that pushed me over the edge of, I think I need this. Do you remember the funny thing too? I remember exactly physically where I was when I learned about this game and when I made the decision to buy a PS3. Geographically, I can tell you the exact, it's not going to mean anything to the people in the podcast, but I can tell you literally right where I was, and I bet you've been there too. Do you remember the first time you heard about Flower?
Not it. So I have my PlayStation 3 already. I am probably hearing about Journey for the first time after its release, after it starts getting really good press. And everyone's like, that game company, that game company. I'm like, well, they have one game. Oh no, they have two other ones. And then when I probably see video or screens of Flower for the first time, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I've seen images of that in some IGN article in the past, and that's about it. I don't remember a definitive time, location, longitude, latitude. Can't give you any of that. I was probably, I'm going to say, was it a dorm maybe? Or a college house maybe? I don't know.
A vague area. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was definitely a game where I was like, oh, this kind of changes everything. And really, like, if you think about my trajectory, I get a PS3, I dive way into this stuff, and I'm rediscovering PS1 stuff at a rapid rate that I hadn't played before, like all of that. And like that kind of connection to PS3 and PSN and all of that stuff is really what reinvigorated. Like, we wouldn't be sitting here right now if it weren't for Flower. I can promise you that, which is, I think, a bold statement to make, but like literally, like me buying a PS3 and being so engaged with PSN stuff is what led me to like fully falling in love with Vita. When Project Cafe was a thing, that's what got me so stoked about Wii U eventually. I mean, not that that shook out a little bit differently, but like still, like all of that re-excited me about just video games in general. I'm simultaneously delivering pizzas and listening to podcasts and thinking I should make a video game podcast. You know what I mean? Like there's all of these things kind of coinciding at once. And I think we can look back at Flower for that. So besides that significance, what significance did you see in Flower itself prior to playing it?
So I did,
if any.
I didn't know. I mean, I really, in hindsight, 2020 now, I did not know a lot about this game. I just knew it was like that game company made 3 bangers on PlayStation, and then they moved on, and everyone talks about Journey. But everyone's
Yeah.
like flower and flow are also good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like it. And I knew like
Hmm.
the premise of the game, like you are a pedal and like the wind, kind of, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not much more on that.
So are you chasing any of the PSN stuff at this time? Did any of it catch your radar? Like,
Probably so 2009 definitely not.
yeah.
Cuz I don't even it might be that Christmas 2009. What year did Modern Warfare 2 come out? That's
I
the
was
one.
about to look up Modern Warfare 2
2,
specifically.
yeah. Whatever that Christmas was. That's when I get my PS3. Um I probably
2009.
okay. So yeah, this game comes out way before I even have a PS3. Then I probably don't start getting into PSN stuff until PlayStation Plus before it's required. It's like this weird
Yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
where you can buy it for $60 and you get these free games, you get like severe discounts on some of this stuff. And I
Yeah.
remember when that first came out, I remember this IGN article, I forgot who wrote it on PlayStation's editorial side, but they were tracking their normal purchases if they had purchased it at that time, but regular versus PlayStation Plus, and I saw the savings after 3 months, and I decided like, oh, you know what? Instead of me kind of oh, you know what? No, I think you got the free PlayStation Plus after the outage, right?
That sounds right.
I think
Yeah.
that was when I saw the significance. And on top of that article, knowing about it, and I think that's when I just was like, you know, instead of buying a game, like re-up this because there's so much value here. And that's when I started dabbling with it because of all the free games I'm getting.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And then that lines up
Um,
with Journey around 2012. I don't think I buy Journey like day one, but it goes on sale at some point during like a PlayStation Days of Play or what, whatever, one of those. And then I
yeah.
probably pick it up for like a third of its price, and that's when I finally play Journey. And I remember it was my senior year, so probably late 2013 or early 2014 is when I finally played Journey.
Dang. So that was one of the ones where I remember I got Journey. I stayed up waiting for it to unlock like on PSN so I could buy it and download it. And it didn't finish like installing until like 2 a.m. Because back then on PS3, you had to wait real time for your downloads. You could download in the background, but
It
whatever.
was
It was
not great.
a rough time, man. Um but yeah, I remember like getting that one and playing it right away. Yeah, let's talk about Flower. I'm going down a PS Plus hole of looking at which games got released to try. I don't need to be there. Uh, that's the big thing. Like for me, it was always like a really cool idea that I've probably now going into this episode built way, way high. Not that we're gonna tear it down at all, but let's talk about it. Um, you mentioned before the emphasis on 6-axis. So yeah, the original release, you're playing with controller, whatever. This game was ported, so I checked out the Vita version just out of curiosity. Um, that one's different because you either just do motion or you do touchscreen, where you're like doing a combination of like
Mm.
moving your fingers up and down on the touchscreen to uh, turn, or and you like go along the back touch for speed.
Okay.
But that, yeah, not quite the case with the original. The original, X is your push wind, right? And
Sure.
then everything else is just tilt the
Oh,
control.
and a
Is
six
that
axis.
about?
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, I thought you were talking about
Yeah, yeah,
Vita
yeah.
still. Yeah, no, that's six
No, yeah,
axis.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. 6-axis, you just hit X to make the wind blow. That's the only button you have. And then you're turning the controller to move about. Uh, is that the main?
Yeah,
Is that how you would describe playing Flower?
yeah. I mean, your camera's focused on the pedal, but yes, like
Yeah, yeah,
to move the pedal, you need to press the button, and then you shift the
yeah.
camera around with whatever PlayStation controller you're using at that time that has 6 axis in it.
Yeah. And then the game itself has 6 stages. What is the objective of each stage? How would you describe that?
I don't know. It kind of varies towards the end, but you're trying to
Yeah.
like gather. You're trying to gather all the main colored petals to either unlock like the next area, or essentially you get like this whirlwind of like petals. Then you go into that and it's like kind of stage clear. Usually with some kind of animation where you're planting the flower and it's kind of blossoming.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I mean, oddly enough, the next game would be called Journey, but you do go on quite a journey in this game, um, as the wind. But you start sort of in like the first level is in a just an open field,
It's like a pasture.
really, and
Yeah.
yeah. But by the end of it, you're like in a full city. There's a would you say there's a story in Flower?
Yes, but it went over my head. Whatever it was. I mean, I guess like the nature. Don't touch it. Let it heal itself in way. I don't know. That's the vibes I was getting. I could be
That's
way
no,
off.
this is good. I because I think this is one of those things with a game like this, like there's definitely a message that they probably have, but I think your response to it emotionally or just intellectually, like in interacting with it, I think is just as valid as whatever they intended. So if yours was leave nature alone, I don't think there's anything wrong with that interpretation. Um, do you feel like this game is like, I don't know, returning to it for me felt very meditative in a way. Like it's still a video game, but it's also just like a thing you can be in for a while. Did you get that from this at all?
This is one of those, like, I don't know, maybe it's just coming off of a bunch of stuff we've been playing lately and what I've also been playing, but just like it was like, oh right, this is an art form. That's kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
that's kind of like the gist I was getting. Um
Yeah, like
even
not that games aren't or like that anything we haven't or that we've been playing isn't, but yeah, it's like a good reminder of like really what we're doing, right? Like it's not just like I'm playing
yeah.
this thing where you're this guy and you're doing this thing. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like no,
No,
man.
like even like Victoria came down during my playthrough and was like, "Oh, this is different. What is this?" And it's like, "Oh, this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this
yeah.
is one of those examples of how how I'm not just shedding blood all the time doing this TV."
Yeah, video games can be different. Um, yeah, it's a different experience. Speaking of which, who's the main character in the game?
The wind, maybe, I don't know.
No, yeah, that was kind of a rhetorical question, but I don't. Yeah. What do you think about Flower makes it different than other games? You mentioned like it's not just blood, but
Um, I no, I think the one the control set, and I go to this is why I'm going to throw it out here. So because of my limited knowledge of this game, I did not know this was motion controls until I literally booted the game.
ah, did you know that you controlled the wind? Like how
Like I've
much of
seen
this was a surprise
screens,
to
like I
you?
saw like a pedal blowing through the wind. So I
Yeah, yeah,
assumed I was controlling the pedal, which I guess you kind of are. And I've seen like through the valley, but I didn't really know what the objective was, or if I was in a wind stream and I was trying to stay. Like I didn't know that stuff, but
how
like
deep? Yeah,
yeah, like I didn't realize you were going across other pedals and collecting them and like
yeah.
do like the objective based stuff. I didn't know. So but no, I was fully surprised when this was like, oh, I'm literally hitting one button, and this is all. Let me set up right. Hold on.
All right. This is a question I usually reserve for when we're closing. But with that said, did you like playing
Yeah,
Flower?
I did. No, this is enjoyable.
Yeah. You described the objectives early on. I think like first, I'm trying to think of when it changes. But initially there's a lot of just like, let me. You need to just like find the specific flowers to fly past to sort of light them up, let them bloom, so that you can like trigger an animation, unlock a new area, do something, whatever. But at a certain point, like it becomes a thing where you're like, by the end of it, you're like destroying cell phone towers or whatever, like electrical lines to like bring back nature in a way or something. Like, um, I don't know. What would you describe the overall objectives of the game, or the like? What's the gameplay hook in your mind?
It's I think it's the collecting those petals to like change the environment, which then usually unlocks like the next little path and the next set of petals for you. That's like the best I can give you.
I think
Um,
that works. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like different ones, like different levels have different things too. So like some of them are like wide open areas, and like you have to go through the whole area and get these petals because it gets like the wind in the windmills and like and all the windmills in this
Mm-hmm.
area like going. Well, if you like clear the pasture in front of them, um, later on you're kind of like destroying the environment to heal nature itself, and then you kind of do that from one thing to the next. Yeah, like I don't know. The game evolves, and there's like that one level too where you're carrying the electricity through the pastures. Like there's
That's
like
my favorite level in this whole. Yeah.
there's there's all kinds of different just little different differences and nuances, and I'm gonna jump too far ahead, but I think that was one of my favorite parts of this. Is like one. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like one, the shock of it being dual sense. I was like, all right, well, all right, I gotta get myself here, and then like kind of like once you level one, level two, you kind of finally start to kind of all right, I know how to maneuver this pedal now, and then they start throwing those little things at you, like the electric currents in that, how to manipulate that, go in circles around those houses or whatever. Then you like the windmill level, like you start to you don't have to do it, but like you can ride those pink pedals as like a quick zip line almost.
Yeah, yeah.
To get from like pasture to pasture. So like you do that, and then like you almost like to have this like enemy building kind of thing. Like you can get shocked if you hit a building
Yeah.
wrong. Not that there's a game over per se. Trust me, I think I know. I got stuck in one area and I was just waggling my controller, just hoping I would get out.
Which area? Or
It
just like a
was
weird part of the physics?
it
Or
was like it was trying to get pedals in like a metal that was electric, had electricity flowing
yeah,
through
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And just the way like I kept bouncing and the way the camera kept turning me, I was just I ended up just like literally waving my dual sense in the well, sorry,
Just
breaking kayfabe.
yeah, yeah.
Waving my controller in the air, just like please let this stop. I was in it for a good
Yeah.
15 seconds.
Um
But yeah, no, it's just like there's little nuances, and because of those nuances, it does get a little bit harder, if not just throwing a different type of gameplay at you while doing the same thing.
yeah. It's there's like very little in terms of I think this is a key of a good game or well-designed game, is where like the thing that you're doing at your core remains the same,
Hmm.
but the like ways in which that's transformed as you play different. I think it's like something we see and talk about a lot with like Nintendo platformers. Like in Mario, you're just running and jumping, but it's like how many things are you running and jumping over, and how are you jumping over them, and like how do you string all that stuff together? And in this, it's the same thing. It's like the core is move the wind, but it just goes so much wider and deeper than that. Have you ever played something like Flower before, or is there something you feel like is closest to Flower?
I want to say I have played something like this. I can't name drop one of them, but I feel like I've gone. I don't want to say I've gone down this path because there's just clearly so much. Like I still haven't played Flow. There's other like
Close. Yeah.
But like but there's other PSN games here I haven't played too. Like I
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
played Dead Nation for an hour. I haven't played Fat Princess. Didn't play Castle Crest. Like there's a bunch of this era that I did not play. But I feel like during like the PS4 era, I kind of came back before I got back.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
somewhere in
because
that
they did a lot of
era,
this PS4.
I was gonna say I feel like somewhere in that era is where I played more stuff like this.
Yeah, or it's just like a little weird, a little different, a little less. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was something again like this to me was like something that was so defining of that era. It's such a shame that we don't have because I don't think we. This is the weird thing, right? Like today, there are like more video games than we will be able to play in a couple of years in our lifetime, whatever, that were released like just in the time that we recorded this podcast.
Yeah.
Just with the nature of how like distribution works now and how many people are making games and how accessible making games is. But still, like it's so rare that you get something that feels truly I mean, everything's original, right? In its own way, even if it's iterative, because it's someone's thing that they made, but it's rare that you get like an experience like a flower or something. I gotta be careful. I feel like I'm talking too hyperbolically about all this stuff, but um yeah, I don't know. I've gone back to Flow, or I went back to Flow after playing Flower, and Flow is cool, but you can see where that was more of the like student project that you know what I mean.
The
That like
prototype
their first
almost.
game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think that started as like a Flash game they made, and then went from there. Um, do you think, based on how the gameplay works and the everything in this game, do you think that we could have gotten something like Flower without the Wii or the DS existing? Knowing what we know about the Blue Ocean approach and all of that.
I I think we get there. It's just timeline.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, like, yeah, the Wii was first to market to it, and PlayStation, at least they claim the Move was in development. But like,
Yeah.
Move was going to come eventually. You also had Connect too, though. Like that was coming
Yeah.
down the pipe too, and I don't know how like Connect's first to market with this stuff, how that influences like stuff on the Move, or if that comes before Wii or whatever. Like who knows? But I think we eventually, at some point, the timelines converge where we do get stuff like this.
Yeah, I think so. Um, but I think this was also just inherent of the way that we were able to get more people and different people making video games for the first time that hadn't. And the like advent of PSN being able to get games distributed differently, the ability to make smaller games and weirder games and put them in front of people who would play them.
I almost say Sony's desperation at this time was
That
probably
too,
the
man.
bigger driver than like the Wii and its motion controls and stuff like that, just to get
So
as
can
much
you
as.
guys stop buying PlayStation 5s, please?
Sorry.
Like I did it too. But yeah, like if we can just stop doing that, maybe Sony will make good things again, not God of War sequels.
And remasters of the sequels.
And yeah, remasters of that sequel on the same console. Has that happened actually? Am I being facetious, or did we get a remaster of a game that came out on the same console life cycle? Maybe
Not
I'm
yet.
being.
It feels like Chapter 2 of The Last of Us was like right there, but it was like again like the
Yeah,
swan
it was
song to
technically.
PS4 because that was the last
Yeah,
time I remember my PS4 sounding like a jet engine in my room ready for takeoff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was rough. It was a rough time. But yeah, man, like that's where we're at now. Is like, and it's also as much as I blame the people, like I am the people. You know what I mean? Like I'm buying fewer games today than I was back in 2009 simply because of time and whatever. So really, I guess I blame the youth, the children of the world
They're out there playing
for just
Fortnite, dude. And they got games in
I
Fortnite
know
now, man.
leading to the end. This
Remember
is
when
what
you had
Flower tried to warn us about, man.
remember when you had to buy Guitar Hero games? Now you just boot Fortnite.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. Besides like the motion influence, obviously there. What other influences do you see in Flower, if any?
Um,
I know it's a weird one.
I just like I would go off and say just like it's I don't want to say weirdness because I think that comes with the territory of these games, but like its uniqueness. Like it feels different than 95% of what's coming out at this time. Um and just like for Flower to succeed in a way while being completely different, I think encourages developers to take that risk of like if we can think of something or come up with something unique and we can land on that, like it can work in the commercial space.
Yeah, and I think also at the end of the day, it is still a video game. So while it is atypical of what we expect, there are these moments where you're playing it and you're like, right, it's a game, right? Like there's for me, the first time I noticed that was like finding secret flowers in the
Mm-hmm.
stage. And I'm like, oh, there's like hidden. Okay, so you need to like seek out things. Like, was there a moment for you where you were like, right, this is a game, not an experience, or like
Getting
they're still
stuck in that
moving?
electrical building for 10 seconds and just
Yeah.
hoping.
Um,
Oh, and
I think that,
the
yeah.
highway. So would the game like freeze your wind like it was loading on that highway in certain spots?
Oh, I don't think I
Not
felt
like
that.
it wouldn't freeze like it would just like I have momentum, and I clearly want to take like the left like exit on the highway, but
Huh.
it kind of like not stop like because the pedals are still like moving and stuff, but like I can like
Yeah.
the wind doesn't have its momentum for a
Same.
second and then it picks up again. It's almost like it was trying to load the environment or the path ahead. And it was only on that
I
highway when I was really traveling, like going.
I wonder if that's like a result of the port and then the emulation layer running on PS5. You know what
It
I
could
mean?
be
Because
like, yeah, it could be. I did notice that. That was another time where I was like, oh well,
that's
yeah, this is clearly a video game now.
yeah,
I
right.
could see that being the case though. It wasn't a big deal. It was just I noticed that like twice, maybe three times.
Yeah. Because I played a bit of it on Vita this time around, just because it was in my hands playing Dino Crisis. And when I wrapped that up, I was like, well, let's jump into this. But then I just went back to the raw PS3 one, so I didn't necessarily experience that this time. But
Okay.
I don't know. Um, the other part for me was like unlocking trophies was very much a like, oh yeah, right, video game.
Mm.
Um, but this one's a weird one to unlock trophies for. Did you Were there, I guess, A, were there any trophies that surprised you? And B, did you like look at the full list to try and chase any of them at all?
I didn't when I by the time I wrapped this up, I didn't want to say it was like done in like a bad way. I was just like, let's move on. But
Install the game. Yeah.
I I did look at the list to see like what does this look like, or more so did I miss anything important kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but no, some of the yeah, that's what it was. Some of the weird like life could be so simple. Like, what did that trophy mean? I could look it up in a guide, but like some of the descriptions for some of the trophies did not really give you the thing you were looking for.
I'm trying to find life could be so simple. Oh, that was the flow one. Yeah. Um, I don't know how you're supposed to know that one without like looking up. I remember looking up the guide for that one way back when.
I feel like there was a second one
Um,
too, but yeah, like stuff. There was a couple of ones. I was like, all right, well,
that one's one where you find a hidden area that has an Easter egg calling back to flow.
mm,
And the game or the like premise of flow is that you're playing as like the primordial organisms in a petri dish kind of thing. So I guess the idea being life could be so
mm,
simple because life was
the
literally simple
yeah.
in that regard. Um, the ones that I remember being stupid and back when were the trophy for taking a 10-minute break in
Oh
between
yes, yeah.
two levels. The other one is playing the game after you've not played it for a week. which to me was like a little bit of a commentary on the idea of trophy hunting and like end games themselves, where it was just like you're rewarded for not playing. And again, like it seemed like a reflection of the times, I guess. Um, yeah, it's a different trophy list, I'll say. Um, so you didn't go back through and try and find every hidden flower in the.
No.
I did it at one point. I tried chasing them. I don't think I ever got them all. I don't think I have it in me. Uh, do you think flower still looks good today?
Yeah, I don't know how much of it's due to the oh my god,
The
the
port.
remaster or whatever, but like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, I feel like art style still works. I like the different color petals. I like the way the petals flow in the air, and like, and then some of the other levels like the electric, the illumination stuff looked really good. Um and then even just like when it takes a drastic just gray turn for, like artistic purposes, even then I think it worked.
Yeah, I think the game's like it's simple enough that you don't need a lot of like graphical fidelity to make it look good. It still just kind of like looks pretty, and I think it works. Um, did you have a favorite stage playing throughout?
I did really like the one that you talked about, the night one with the electric, like the illumination.
Yeah, that one rules.
I kind of like the not the very end of it, but like the first part of the last level where you start kind of destroying buildings. In that one
Yeah.
area, not like again, not when you get like deep into the city, but some of the other ones. And then I did like the open windmill and like trying to take advantage of the pink petals. I was really expecting to see like a not just for that level, but maybe in total, like a speed run trophy, like beat this game under 20 minutes kind of thing. When I saw that
Oh yeah.
level, with the way you could zip real quick,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
from meadow to meadow.
Yeah, that's a good. Surprised they didn't do that on like the re-release or something. Add trophies in. But I guess, yeah, maybe that goes against the spirit of it. I'm double checking. Yeah, the only trophy I think for that section is just to play with the windmills. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
to engage with it multiple times, but otherwise, no. Yeah. What stands out to you about the sound in Flower?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. There's not much to it though, especially early on. Some of the later levels try to like big band, especially I I did like going back again to that level with the electric. I did like that level because if you listen to the score, there's almost like a caution to the orchestra as you're going from thing to thing. Like it's kind of like the writings on the wall is about to happen, and if you're smart, you probably know it's about to happen. And then the music does change when the mood shifts in that level quickly.
Mm.
That was one thing I did kind of
Yeah.
I caught, but that more like that caution into the free flowing optimism kind of thing. It was the first time I kind of really noticed the score, but I don't know what
No,
to
because
some for
I think
you.
that's the point of it for me is that the game is so dynamic. Like I feel like the sound and the way the sounds are generated are based on what you're doing and where you're doing it for the most part.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
because the pedals kind of like do the
they
right. Yeah,
influence the like yeah the volume of the orchestra and stuff like that, I think. Um, overall, do you feel like that kind of layer or layering made the game more immersive? Overall, do you feel like Flower was immersive?
yeah. I mean, it's tough to say it's not because you're literally in control unless you hit the pause button. Because if you move that controller just a little bit, like you move where you're
Yeah.
going. Um, but no, it does the Resogun thing. Not to the extent, not Resogun. It does the Res Infinite thing where it like what you're doing with the environment impacts kind of like what you're hearing, the flow of the level, and all the other stuff. So yeah, just on that level too, I think is also immersive.
Before we rank this, couple closing questions. I guess is there anything else you didn't hit on from your notes or experience while playing?
One of the best credits levels I think I've seen.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like that was there were a few things similar to this back in this era of games. That's a good point. That's a good call out.
And special thanks to Jackie T at the end. Just remind the good times. Let them roll.
Screenshot that.
No, I should have.
All right. Do you think flour is important?
Yeah. Yes.
Why?
I think a lot of these games in this mix where these things that stand out as unique and push the medium forward. Like Call of Duty doesn't put. Or, sorry, let me rephrase. Call of Duty does, sure, but you have thousands of people or hundreds of people working on these games across multiple studios, and yes, graphics and and whatever. Like, sure, it does push in a way, but like these games that take the minimum amount of like that's a bad word to use, but just like it seems such like they like take this idea and they just expand upon it, and it doesn't feel like this grand thing. It just feels like they just fleshed out a seed of an idea to I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling here.
No. But I think you're right. Like
It just
there's not.
they're doing something different, even if it's not a AAA game. But I think that's what makes these. I think that's what makes these so important is because they're not AAA games, and I think because of this era of game, this is where you're starting to see the trend shift to where we are
Yeah.
today, where no publisher at a AAA level is going to take a risk. Not anymore. It's just game. Like, its development's too expensive. These smaller
Yeah.
studios, these indie titles, that's where you're going to see the risk, and then where they're going to AAA studios will see what works, and they'll take those ideas and put them into their game. And then the next Assassin's Creed will look like indie game A.
Because I think like now with the risk aversion, I think where we're seeing like innovation in this space is happening on itch, or it's happening from it, now there's like an independent publisher. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
Devolver of the world didn't exist at the time Flower came out, which is why Flower came out as a Sony Computer Entertainment funded thing. Um, I will say, not to completely like discount, like PlayStation does now have the I forget the exact name of it, but it's like the PlayStation India and Play Hero Project. PlayStation India Hero Project. And then is it also the China Hero Project? Yes. China Hero Project and India Hero Project. I don't know if there's a third Hero Project. Um, but in both of those, they're doing these, they're funding smaller ideas. So they haven't completely escaped like
My only
funding cool
concern of
things.
that was how involved was Shuhei in those. And now that Shuhei is gone,
Yeah.
that's my only concern.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't know, like, uh, not to be reductive, but like looking at what's coming out of that. So like out of the China Hero Project, we're getting Lost Soul Aside, which I'm not saying that game looks bad, but that game does not look like Flower. That game looks more like a team wanted to make a big thing. You know what I mean? This is the one, I forget which PlayStation thing this was announced at, but this one looks more like, I don't know, like Near or Near Automata, that is. Um, or like Returnal or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks very much like it's a it looks like a triple A game. You know what I mean? Like it might not be, it might not have that full budget, but it and again, that's like reflective of the nature of today's game making, where like you can make something in anybody can just jump into Unreal Engine and make stuff. So, but yeah, back in this era, um, we had like the best of PlayStation Network. So, I mean, there's what you had Tokyo Jungle, you had um the aforementioned Fat Princess. I know this was more the Vita era because it launched on Vita, but it later came to other stuff. But the same people that made Fat Princess made
Unfinished Swan.
Escape Plan.
Oh.
Oh yeah, there was also that. Yeah, Unfinished Swan was another big one. Um, yeah, again, we just don't. It's different, different. Um, do you think Flower is overrated?
No. I don't no. Like,
I don't either. I know I spoke very like elegantly or Ella, whatever. I feel like I lost put this one up high, but
no, but I think it's a good
what's
experience. Like, there's like it's
yeah,
not like it's one of my problems with like a game like Eco, where it was like there was times where I didn't like playing that game.
sure,
I
yeah.
like the art style, the theme, the art, like all that stuff. I liked. It was just times where I thought like some of the puzzle stuff was just a little annoying.
A little bit of a slog.
This was like I think like the perfect amount of time because by the time I'm going through that concrete jungle area, I'm like, okay, we're ready to wrap. And then the
I
credits
get it.
game, I was like, this was a cool
Yeah,
ass thing. I'm ready to kind of move on now.
yeah,
No, I never had like that drag moment like I did in Eco that I had a couple times.
yeah. Did this differ from your expectations?
I, I mean, yeah, from the jump, right? it was uh, it was a motion controller game.
Yeah. Um,
But I guess that's being a little reductive though. Like I didn't know what this really was going to be, and I did like the way that it did evolve itself. I didn't know it was going to evolve in that way. I thought it was going to be kind of something a little bit different. But how it ends up shaking out, I like the direction it went to.
yeah, I agree. Um, I'm happy it still like feels good to play for me, and also like you can come to it fresh and still have a good time with it. Um, sometimes we return to when we're doing the list, sometimes we return to games and they just don't hit quite the same way. I was surprised that this one still felt as good and interesting and fun, etc. Um, what do you say we rank it?
Yeah, let's do it.
TheFreeCheese.com/the list is where you can follow along and find everything we've ranked so far, as well as convenient links to that episode where those games were ranked. We go all the way from Super Mario Galaxy 2 down to Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. With every Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg and Soul Calibur 2 in between. I can throw one out there for us.
Do it.
This was a really tough one to rank
It
for
was.
me.
All right, I was going to prelude mine with that too. This was tough. This is one of the
But
tougher
where I
ones.
landed, yeah. Because I don't, but I ended up just sort of like, I kept finding reasons to go lower. And then I was like, no, just go. So where I landed was 23, below Res Infinite, above Device 6.
Okay. All right. So I ended up going a little bit lower.
That's
And the main reason I went up and down. I don't think I went past like 50, but like I was just going up and down somewhere in that range, and my eyes kept coming to year walk, and I kind of
Mm,
kept thinking, I was like, I think I kind of like playing year walk a little bit better than this, and with that, I put it at 40 between
mm,
Code Veronica X and the Guardian Legend.
interesting.
But again, this was incredibly. This is one of the. Since we started doing the rank, I know it's still new, but honestly, a lot of the other rankings we've done so far, I kind of looked for about a minute and I'm like, that's the spot. This one, I was like, oh god, where do I put it? And kind of,
Yeah.
kind of like really look at this list for a few minutes.
Yeah, because I think I did the same thing where I had this. Right. I think when I first started looking, I was somewhere around like Undertale. No, I was lower than that. I don't know. It was somewhere in that like low 20s, high 30s. And then I was like, well, it's up this. And that's what ended up like getting me. I started like looking. I'm like, all right, well, if I do start climbing, how high do I go?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I don't go higher than res. So if I don't go higher than res, where do I fall? And
Yeah,
then I
be right
see
back.
device 6 immediately below it. And I was like, I like this better than device 6. Device 6 is so good though.
Yeah, I kind of, I think my main thing was like, do I go for, because I mean, you kind of talked about it a lot at uh the top of this episode, but like I kind of had that similar feeling of like, this is a game that pushes the medium forward. This is a
Yes.
game that, I wasn't really thinking of the PSN thing, but like you talking about it, like yes, like it is a part of that PSN era that is so, I think, crucial to what games are today. And I was like, does that significance go in my influence? And ultimately, it was just like playing the game, and that's kind of where I landed. And then once I kind of landed there, I was like, all right, well, like go down from the like device 6. I was like, all right, well, I like playing like Max Payne better. I liked playing Burnout better, and I kind of stopped getting. I like things better around the Guardian Legend and going down.
Okay.
But like that was just how I approached it. I know this is one of those difficult ones, and I brought up Eco for that reason earlier, where like Eco's not my favorite game, but I get why it's at the top or towards the top of our
Yeah.
list. Damn, I really did not score Eco that well. Huh. All right. My score
Yeah,
is
you didn't do
better.
that
My
well.
score is better for this than Eco. I promise.
Um, yeah, No
Oh,
Mercy is another weird one. But
yeah.
No Mercy is like best in class wrestling game.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's very hard to compare No Mercy and Flower directly to one another, but in terms of yeah.
Yeah, but if you do best in class, I can go down to 98 and see ESPN NFL football. So, well, does that argument really matter?
No.
Um, I'll I'll come up to you though. I nah, the Undertale thing, but that's almost becoming Metal Gear Solid 2 territory for me now at this point. Um, I might just come meet you. Where were you at originally? I remember saying Device 6.
I was above device 6, below res.
I almost want to. I don't want to flip it. I'll just meet you. You what? 23.
You feel good right there?
I don't know where else this goes
I
because I
know.
feel like if it falls,
I know.
and we can't climb it
Uh,
anymore.
do you like it over device 6?
I think I
Think big picture.
do. I think I do.
Then
I
that's the
think.
problem we have. Yeah, I know. I'm with you because I did a lot of that and I like walked all the way through device 6 again in my head. And then yeah, but like yeah.
Yeah, it's tough for me because so much of this stuff in like honestly almost the entire 20s is like stuff that I really like that just didn't like get up there. It's just the way that
Yeah.
this list has shook out. I think
And well, and a lot of the stuff that's in the 20s is stuff that was at one point in the
that's
teens. We've just
fair too.
added a lot to push these things back down.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't.
Right?
Yeah. I was hoping you would be more like, this is the spot. So, yep,
I
I was
mean, I
me.
did. Just
Yeah, but I came up to you like, well, he doesn't have to be here.
I don't know because I'm looking back and I'm like, like if it falls, like maybe it's above Titanfall 2, but even then, I feel like it would be higher. Like, I just feel like as an experience, as a like reflection of what games can be, in the idea of like bringing new ideas to video games and fresh things. Like I think this spawns a lot from it too, which in that regard, like that's a dangerous territory to go down because then we just put Doom on this list and it's at the top. You know what I mean? For that argument alone, but
No, but I do like this is legacy and all that aside. I do think this is a unique and fun experience worth. Again, it's something that pushed video games, and not even just talking like legacy of PSN or whatever, but it did like I think this is
yeah,
one of those pillars of this time that did something
yeah.
unique, and we're better off for it now. Dude, let's just do it. I
We've done this for long enough that I
I
know
know,
I need to just go.
I know.
And no, I mean I gotta just do it before you change your mind. Is
Or
my
did you
point.
put at 23?
23
Okay.
below res, above device 6. Congratulations to Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero for being the new 134. Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's not a perfect game, but it's like such a good game and yeah,
And
it's a
it's one of
cool
those
experience.
I don't know. It's one of those ones where like yeah, it has small problems, but it's so unique that I just throw those problems out the window because it doing something way different. And I haven't
Yeah.
seen a game try to fix these mistakes yet. And I even think they're big
Yeah.
mistakes. I even know there are mistakes, honestly.
No,
I mean, maybe
I
tweak
don't
some level design, but other than I can't think of
there's not
much I would do
not a
to this game that would like without transforming it way too much.
no, I agree with that. Like it stands pretty well on its own as it is. Yeah. I dig it. Flower, the new 23. Um Video games back on the menu. I'm peeking ahead here to see like do we have any other struggles ahead of us in terms of ranking, and I think we do.
I
But
think 4 weeks from now,
yeah. Yep.
begins with a
Which is
B
out
and ends
there.
in an M with a in the middle.
Yeah. But not the one I said
Yeah.
before. A
No, no,
different one.
no.
But yeah. No, we've got some stuff, man. Um
To be fair, I haven't. I've yet to do my revisit of that game. To be fair,
I think it'll hold up. But we'll
I think
see.
it will too, but I haven't done my revisit yet.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it for Flower. And then next week when we come back, we're taking a break from singular video game topics and rankings to instead return to the trivia dungeon. Stay tuned. We got a hot new format I'm looking forward to. And then we'll be back with Simulacra the week after that. As springtime continues here, would you believe it, Matt, if I told you that we are, I think, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, we're over the halfway point of our springtime series. Doesn't it feel like just yesterday we were playing Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero?
Dude, I'm look, I'm cheating. I know what's ahead. I didn't think I was going to start a game in mid-June in the next couple weeks. So,
I know, but we're there.
oh shit, there's another episode. Oh man, that has new perspective. Oh, I'm just teasing.
Hmm.
What we had on the, we're gonna have to talk about it, but what was tentatively the episode for 614.
And yeah, still might be, but yeah, actually that kind of lines up.
I
Well,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
does. It.
Ah, boy, oh boy. All right. Well, until next week and our next episode. uh Thank you, Matt. Thank you out there for hanging out with us for another week. We'll be back next time. Bye.